Welcome. This is Sandra Corrado of Next Level Consulting. We are a wellness, inspiring, and empowering company. And it is my pleasure to introduce my guest today, Michael Shuster. And he will be talking about how his work enhances the well-being of individuals in our community. So Michael, we've known each other, I think, since 2010. So it's been a while.
Yeah.
It's been a pleasure to know you and to interact with you, and I have really watched how your career and work has shifted and encompassing a lot more groups. So I'm wondering, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and what drew you to become a realtor?
Sure. And of course, it's been a pleasure knowing you too. And the answer to your first question um, is very much in line with what you just said. Is it's all about helping people, whether it's wellness or different aspects of life and difficult situations. So just to start with answering your question, what drew me to become a realtor? I was actually long before you and I met, I was in real estate investing as a young 20-something with some financial help from my dad back when you could buy a property for $300,000. I was just constantly flipping properties, and I spent six figures on courses to learn how. So the answer to your question is, I had so many bad experiences with realtors that I didn't think it was fair to people, and I wanted to raise the standard, make it better. And that's not to say all realtors are bad, and I'm not arrogant to say that I'm the only good one. Nothing like that at all. There's 80,000 plus licensed realtors on the Toronto Regional Real Estate Board. So that's just the GTA.
Mm-hmm.
And like any profession, whether you look at lawyers, doctors, realtors, accountants, there's the top 5 or 10%, not necessarily in earnings or income, but specialized knowledge, great service combined with things you can learn in textbooks and courses, combined with integrity and genuine empathy and caring about people, the things that are inherent to you either have it or you don't. Mm-hmm. So in every profession, there's the top 5 or 10% who have all of that. There's the middle 80% that I've found that can get the job done, but you're just another paycheck. And then there's the bottom 5 or 10% that you wouldn't wish on your worst enemy. So I wanted to be in that top 5%. Again, not necessarily income, but helping people, giving honest service and the best service possible. So that's what drew me in.
Mm-hmm. And to me, that's important. I've had, some dealings with realtors. I have met some amazing realtors, and I had, the bottom 5%. I had a few encounters. Now, fortunately, they weren't very long-term dealings. It was a one-off, and, things kind of got resolved and we moved on. I met a wonderful woman who I consider my second mom as a realtor. So I understand the importance of working with someone that's reputable, someone that has integrity and authenticity. And again, watching your posts and interacting with you and seeing how clients are responding to you and what you've been able to accomplish. I mean, this to me is amazing.
Thank you.
And again, from a wellness background, I'm looking at it as, when you have a great experience, the house is a big, big asset. When you have a good experience, moving is already stressful, but when you have someone that can guide you through the process, it helps take that edge off. And that to me is part of, helping, nurturing a family, taking care of their well-being with their home. And that to me speaks volumes. Now, what type of clients do you typically serve?
Well, okay. So first of all, again, you just touched on something's a great segue into that question. You talked about being overwhelming. So I read a study somewhere, I don't remember exactly where and when, they said the top 3 most stressful or traumatic events in most people's lives are death, divorce, and moving. So I'm in a profession where it's one of those 3, but I try to take an overwhelming, possibly risky experience, both emotionally, intellectually, and financially, and make it a good experience. So then your question, who do I typically serve? Again, an interesting question, because for many people, realtors are often pigeonholed. And what I mean by that is if a realtor is posting on social media or advertising in the area or whatever have you, people think that that's what they do. So, for example, I work with, in the past 3 weeks, I've helped a first-time buyer, a senior citizen, and a family in their 40s with 2 kids and a golden retriever. So I work with everybody, not to say that I just want to, make a living, but I work with people who need help, want integrity combined with specialty, and are great to work with, not people that try to use and abuse others, if you will. Because there are some people that just care taking advantage of others for their own benefit. So I've turned down clients like that. But who I typically serve in the last several years, and started shortly after you and I met, believe it or not, are combining real estate. And this wasn't strategy, I fell into it by accident, but it's combining real estate with difficult, traumatic times in life. So the two main specialties that I have are seniors downsizing to or transitioning to retirement residences, and people going through divorce when they have to sell the matrimonial home, which of course combine more emotion than the average person buying or selling a property. They're often taken advantage of by unsuspecting people who are, unfortunately, there's a few bad apples everywhere, so you want to make sure that they don't fall into any traps. So that's typically who I usually, most of my business referrals. I don't spend money on postcards and door knocking and cold calling. Not that there's anything wrong with it. I'm not putting down any other realtors. I just like to offer specialized knowledge and service to people who can benefit from it and want it.
That's wonderful. And those that are going through the divorce process and the seniors, again, the move alone is stressful. Then you tack on divorce and going through the whole process. You're dealing with seniors that are downsizing and they have all their memories in their home, and then selecting where do they go now.
Right.
That's elevated stress. So
yes.
Yeah, go ahead.
So, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but you're absolutely in for seniors. I mean, we can get into because love to chat with you today about that. There's a lot on that topic. For divorce, maybe that's a topic for another day. But
that's part 2.
Oh, okay. Just to sum that up, or let people know what's ahead. The thing about divorce is it's a very emotional, traumatic time in someone's life. And by the way, I've been through it, so I speak not only from business, but I understand the whole emotional aspect of it. It's not only emotional, but the other thing that will be a whole topic in and of itself for you and I to talk about is how people leverage or try to interfere with the sale of their matrimonial home to spite their soon-to-be ex or get more money than they're entitled. All sorts of different things we can talk about, which only compounds the stress and anxiety, nerves, and then ill health if you don't manage it properly.
Yeah. So if we focus on your working with the seniors, how would you work with the senior? Like how would you, I guess, how do you get your clients that are seniors? Are you connecting with, seniors residences? Is it all referral? Because I know you said you do a lot of referral, or there's a lot of referrals coming in. So how do you start the process with a senior, someone who's mature and now is having to make this decision of, do I downsize? Do I stay here? What is your process for that?
Well, okay. So first of all, how do I get referrals? How do I get them? So yes, there's 2 components to that before I get into the process. In terms of referrals, there are many retirement homes or retirement residences that I have great business relationships with. And again, I mean, they are called on by realtors every day. And it's not to say there's other bad realtors. There's a lot of good ones out there. But I think the referrals I get are when people need specialized service and skills and training and dealing with somebody in their 80s, 90s. I've had clients that are 102, 103. So there's a lot of personal ways of dealing with people and helping them through that stage that don't even have anything to do with putting a sign on the lawn. So a lot of my business is referrals from retirement residences. I often get people, most often it's not the 80 or 90-year-old that calls me. It's usually their adult adult children who are in their 50s, 60s, or 70s, depending on the age. And they'll say, you know, mom or dad or mom and dad will need some help and need to move to retirement residence, you know, in next year in 8 months, whatever it is. They're apprehensive, they're scared, but we should start taking it slow, prepping. We'd like you to come in, let us know what you need to do with the house. And that's where things evolved for me years ago. Most realtors who don't make it their purpose to specialize in this will give great advice on what you need to do to prepare the house or the condo, talk about the market, talk about their skills. I like to build rapport, I like to build trust, and I like to add value. So I'll sit down with them. Of course, I'll answer their questions about real estate, but I will also say, where's mom and dad going? Or mom and dad are at the table, where are you going? And usually they're going to retirement residence for various reasons. And then I'll say, you know, where are you looking at? And that's when they say, well, it's overwhelming. There's many brands, there's many amenities and services, there's different prices. We don't even know where to start. It's just so much to, you know, process. And that's where I start becoming consultative and helping them. So a lot of my business is either referrals from the retirement residences, referrals from past clients, and people who know what I do. And then so the process is I sit down with them, talk about listing the property. One thing that's the first many things that's very different when you work with a senior, I move them out. I help them. Part of my service, which is unique, I launched it just before COVID, is moving them to the retirement residence, or if, you know, they're downsizing from a bigger property, smaller property. I want to move them out before I list the property, because it's not only much easier, but it's more successful to sell the property without them in it. And, you know, if you're in your 30s or 40s and you want top dollar for your house or your condo, you need to get as many showings from potential buyers as possible. And it's inconvenient at any age when someone says, I want to see it at 8 o'clock tomorrow morning, or there's a showing every hour if the realtor's doing their job marketing it. Or somebody, you know, just saw it now and they want to see it at 8:30 p.m. because they work all day. That's very difficult for somebody in their 80s or 90s, or somebody with a walker, or somebody takes time to get dressed and clean the place up. So I move them out. Then my team and I prepare the property to show at its very best. Then, like any sale, I put together my marketing plan and execute that. And then a lot of them, I mean, they're taking this much from a house or condo. They're taking this, they have this many belongings, but you can only take this much into a suite at a retirement residence. So we donate things to various charities and services that can benefit from it. If they're willing to donate, if there's anything of high value, we help them sell it or auction it off. And there's a lot of stuff that goes to the garbage because there's no more use for it. So all the things that seniors can't do, my team and I do that for them.
That's amazing. That is truly amazing, and takes a load off them. They don't need to worry about that. Now, I'm assuming that the transition from a home that maybe, you know, 50, 60 years, and then moving into a retirement residence can be shocking or little traumatic. There's a lot of change. So how do you help them, I guess, prepare or maybe bridge the transition? Or what are some things that you may suggest or might do to help them with that transition?
Well, great question. And there's a lot to it. So first of all, I mean, one of the things in all aspects of real estate that I focus on over the years, so I'm a twice certified negotiator, which is not, I know Donald Trump's a bad word in this world these days, but it's not Donald Trump beat my chest, I'm going to bully you until I get what I want. The art of negotiating is the art of understanding people and creating a win-win where everybody's happy. If you can do that successfully, then you're a great negotiator. And so one of the things that intrigues me is understanding people at every age and going through all of these types of situations. So fear is one of the biggest emotions anybody has at any age. Change is one of the biggest, most difficult things for anybody to deal with. If you remember when you're, you know, if anybody's had little kids that fear going to school, fear going to camp, fear going, whatever it is, sleeping in a different bed when you go away, you know, on vacation, to being in your 80s and 90s, most of these people haven't moved in the last 3, 4, 5, or even 10 years. Most of the seniors that I work with have been there 30 years, some 60 years, 50 years, 70 years. So they're not used to change. They're not used to moving and changing real estate or where you wake up in the morning and go to bed at night. The other thing, there's a couple of other things. It's overwhelming to them. I mean, if I said to you, Sandra, we just sold your house or your condo, I don't know where you live, but if we just sold your property, congratulations. The next thing through your head is, how the heck am I going to pack all this stuff? Well, you can't do that usually when you're in your 80s or 90s, packing and disposing and moving and shifting and hiring movers and hiring lawyers and hiring realtors and hiring everybody is overwhelming. And then how do we get it all done? So that's what they're afraid of. I mean, often their objections when they go meet with the people I know at their different retirement residences, they have different excuses, different hurdles and obstacles to saying, yes, I can't wait to sign up and move in. And usually one of the biggest excuses is, I can't do it all myself. Either they have no family, or they have family, but they don't want to be of their own. So that's all very difficult. So that's why I created the program where we do everything for them. But the other part of your question is, how do we take something that's big and overwhelming and make it seem smooth, make it smooth, safe, but seem like a great experience than a daunting or overwhelming experience. And it's like many things in life, is breaking things down into little components and taking away all the things they can't do or they're afraid to do or don't want to do, and shifting their focus to what's in it for them. What is the benefit? Mm-hmm. So one of the biggest hurdles that I've seen is there's a stigma. And, you know, for most seniors in their 70s, 80s, 90s, or 100s, I remember when I was a little kid and I knew all of my grandparents. I actually knew 3 of my great grandparents. And they'd always say, you're not sticking me in a home. And back then, a home was a dilapidated old property, usually a rundown out of service hospital or something like that, where your kids stick you to die, or when you lose your dignity, or you have no independence and you lose your independence, or people forget about you, or, you know, you're close to end of life and all those things. That's what it was in the 50s and 60s, maybe even the 70s. But now retirement lifestyle living is like being in a full-time vacation in a resort where they cook for you, clean for you. There's activities, there's social activities, there's interaction with your peers, because one thing we learned during COVID is people are social creatures. We need human interaction.
We are, yes.
So one of the things where I usually start when seniors are hesitant, scared, overwhelmed, is a lot of the YouTube videos I do or interviews I do, I share these pictures and videos. No, you're not going into a home. You're choosing to live in a full-time vacation spot where all the people your age there's parties, there's musical entertainment, there are tours where they have their own tour bus. There's 3 meals a day cooked for you by chefs. There's cleaning services. All you have to do it's like living in a hotel. So I shift their focus to what's positive about this. Mm-hmm. A lot of times they say, well, I don't want to lose, you know, I'm not sick yet, or I don't need that yet. Well, first of all, if you wait until you're sick, it's too late, because it's even more difficult to move. And the costs when you're elderly and health is declining, costs go up. So you're better to be in place first. The other thing is, you should move when you can enjoy it. Enjoy the activities and the food and all of the privileges. So what I usually help them shift their focus is, you're not losing independence. In fact, you're gaining independence. If you live alone and need somebody to help you with daily activities or cooking or whatever, or you're kind of lonely until your family comes to visit you on the weekends, you can have more independence when you're in a retirement lifestyle community or building.
Yeah, that makes sense. And
yeah,
it's like you've taken care of all the little details for them,
right.
And
right.
you know, showcasing all the benefits that they would receive by going into a residence,
Mm-hmm.
And shifting also the definition of, you know, retirement home residence, there's a big difference. And I've gone into a number of them, and they're beautiful places. My grandmother was in a residence and she loved it. So many activities. Down in the main level, there was a swimming pool. We're Italian background, so Boche was a big thing for all the Italians.
Yeah.
And they had a chance to socialize. If they wanted to partake in any activities outside, they just signed up and they went. If they didn't, they stayed at home and did whatever they wanted. They could sit and chit chat, have coffee. And then the groceries, if they want, like the center also helped them arrange to have their groceries delivered. So it was like, oh my goodness, freedom.
Yeah. Yeah.
And socializing, which is great.
Yeah, absolutely.
What about, I mean, hiring realtors, movers for a senior? Are there any issues that they need to be mindful of, or careful?
Yeah. So you asked me at the beginning of our chat here how I got into real estate, and I talked about real estate investing. So because we're not going to chat for hours here today, I left out the part where before I got into real estate, when I came out of university, I started and I built up a very successful HR company. Again, understanding people, human resources. But I wasn't a headhunter. I helped corporate chains understand how to, when you interview Sandra, not is Sandra a wonderful person, but would be Sandra a great fit for this job? Otherwise, you want productivity to go up, not down. You want people to show up and be enthusiastic, not call in sick. So anyway, I had a lot of past training in understanding people and hiring process. And so to your question, whether it's seniors or anybody, one of the frustrating parts or challenges of what I see day in and day out is most people, unless they're HR executives, don't know how to hire. And I'm not saying that in a derogatory way. What I mean is, if you think about it, people don't say, I'm going to list my house or condo. I'm going to interview 2 or 3 or 4 realtors. My point is, what questions are you going to ask? Because most people don't have a list of questions. Most people say, this person gave me a name, this person gave me a name, so I'm going to tell them to come in and see what they can do. Really, what, AKA, I'm going to let you come in and pitch me, and whoever has the best sales pitch gets the job. But if you're applying for a job in retail, restaurant, hospitality, you don't go in and pitch them. They interview you. So my point is that when you're hiring a realtor, most people don't know what questions to ask. And equally, if not more importantly, what are good answers versus bad answers? And so if you take that and extend that one step further, there are different questions and answers that apply to seniors that most of them, aren't even aware of what to ask and what are good or bad answers. So the first obstacle or the first difficulty for seniors is not knowing who to hire, how to hire, what to ask, what to say. The very first time I helped a 91-year-old sell their house, she was a widow, a real estate stager called me, and there's thousands of stagers, so I didn't know this lady. She called me and she said, my mom's 91, dad passed away a few years ago. Mom's very independent, mind works, she's mobile, everything's good, she just can't drive anymore. So she's thinking of going into a retirement residence where all she has to do is take the elevator. And she wanted to sell the house on her own. And she's interviewed 5 realtors. And she called me and said she's overwhelmed because she has no idea how to pick or who to trust. And she doesn't know what to do. So I'm going to help mom. I should call a realtor that, refers business to me. But when somebody's 91 years old and when it's your own mother, you really want somebody that you trust and who's going to create a great, safe experience. And few different people gave me your name, and I said, well, I'm flattered and I'm honored, thank you. And I met with Mavis, 91 years old, and she said, I met 5 nice people, but I have no idea. I'm so overwhelmed. No, I don't know what to do. So the first part is not knowing how to interview and hire a realtor. Sadly, like I said earlier, I like to think the world is a good place. I'd like to think there's more people like you and me, but unfortunately, as we know with technology and otherwise, there are sometimes some bad apples, and unfortunately they take advantage of, you hear in the news all the time, they take advantage of seniors, money scams, these scams, those scams. I have a listing coming out this week, and I met with them. They signed the papers about a month ago, and referral from a retirement residence. And the gentleman after he signed the papers with me, gentleman calls me up about a week and a half ago, and he says, a realtor knocked on my door and said they have a buyer. And I said, I won't say his name. I said, so and so, if they have a buyer, I understand you don't want to lose out on a buyer. You hired me. It's my job to make sure we don't lose a potential buyer. But many realtors are trained in their courses to go out, say you have a buyer, get in, get the appointment, and then tell them what you can do for them. So I'm not saying they're lying. I'm saying you have to be careful. The other thing is, you signed a contract with me. He said, oh yeah, I didn't remember that. I said, so you're hiring me to make sure you're safe. I said, did you tell him that you signed a contract with me? He said, I think I did. Well, here's what some people know, some people don't know. Realtors know this. As soon as you tell a realtor you're in a contract with another realtor, they're not allowed to solicit you. But this realtor, young and anxious young in the business, he's only been in the business a year, anxious to, use the scripts he learned to get another listing, said, well, let me come in anyway and let me tell you what I can do. So my client said, he's coming tomorrow at 1:00. So tomorrow at 1:00, I was there. And I said to my client, if he has a buyer, I'll make sure we don't lose the potential buyer. If he doesn't, I'm going to make sure he doesn't take advantage of you. The moral of the story is, some people lie. Some people are deceitful. Some people break the rules. Not all, not most, but some. Unfortunately, with seniors who either might have, onset of Alzheimer's dementia, which is, I see that a lot, and or their spouses that are overwhelmed taking care of, that scenario. People like you and I are in this world to make it a better place. And with that integrity and empathy means we sleep at night knowing we protect good people from dishonest people. We advise and guide people according to what they need and what's best for them, not what's best for us. So those are some of the problems and hurdles and obstacles when they hire realtors. And the other thing is, like I said, one of the reasons that I came up with the one-stop turnkey program is everything I just finished telling you, multiply that by 4 or 5, because you have to interview and hire realtors. You have to interview and hire movers. You have to interview and hire people to help you pack and unpack. Real estate lawyer. There's 4, 5, 6 professionals in the process. So I have the team. Of course, all my people are vetted and trusted. So you hire me. If you trust me, feel comfortable working with me, not only will I sell your property for the most money, but you don't have to worry about any of that. I usually say, you know what, Mr. and Mrs. So-and-so, let's go over to the retirement residence. Let's have a nice lunch and give me the keys, and I'm going to take care of everything for you. Safe, smooth, and profitable.
So it's turnkey services that you're offering, and you're guiding them through all the steps, and perhaps allaying any fears or helping them see the benefits, and again, allowing them to breathe. So oh my goodness, I could just feel the difference, right? So I know people that are listening to the recording will want to reach out. So can you share your contact details? What's the best way to contact you?
Well, thank you. Yes. So I have, okay, well, my phone number is 416-414-0554. If I have my regular website, and I have a page for seniors. It's called my Seniors Move for Free program. And I have an email for both. So for seniors, it's www.movingforseniors, and it's the number 4, not letters. So it's moving4seniors.ca. And my email is mike@movingforseniors.ca. Or if, just generals, mike@shusterrealestate.com.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you
so much for spending the time with me. And I also have, more information about your services, because although I have been observing kind of a step back, so to speak, and noticing testimonials and your posts, I have a better idea of your services. And I really like the idea of the interview process. My background is human resources as well. So
I didn't know that.
I interview doctors, I like anyone I'm going to be dealing with, they're interviewed. If I don't get the right vibe, next. So
exactly.
I get it.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
And by the way, Sandra, just as an FYI or a follow-up to some of the things I shared, like I did mention before, when I'm helping seniors or their adult children convince their seniors, because very often I've learned another lesson, like parents don't listen to their children and children don't listen to their parents of any age. So obviously,
True.
somebody, who's in their 80s or 90s, when you have your son or daughter in their 60s or 70s trying to say, mom, dad, you'd be happier here. There's a resistance just because of who it's coming from.
Hmm.
So I created several videos on my YouTube channel just for seniors. Like I said, they're not 30 minutes, they're 1, 2, 3 minutes, 4 minutes, that a retirement residence representative or the adult children of the seniors, they can share these videos with their parents, take over their iPad, their tablet, their laptop, say, hey, mom, dad, let's just watch this for a minute. Because when they see visually their seniors, their senior peers having fun, eating with people gourmet and having all of these fun activities, they visualize it, they internalize it, they can relate to it, and it's no longer your children or a salesperson trying to convince you. It's real video.
Hmm.
So I have these short videos that depict what life is like, in a retirement residence, combined with I put a few captions on of here are the benefits, here's what you don't need to be afraid of. So if anybody wants to see those, they're on my YouTube channel also.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, and it's under Michael Shuster, or is it a?
Well, the YouTube channel, so I created a URL, which is movinginontario.ca.
Perfect. Okay.
And of course, there's 80,000 hits a month. So there's lots of topics, but there's different tabs, playlists, and there's one that says seniors. Yeah. Or the other thing is if somebody's having difficult convincing their parents, I shared my email address, send me an email and I'll just send you the links to those 4, 5, 6 videos so that you can go directly to them.
Yeah, very helpful. I think having the short videos are really nice too, because people can, view them at home before they, have a chat with you and they feel a bit more
Right.
comfortable. So thank you
Right.
so much. I so
Thank
enjoyed
you.
our conversation.
And
So
me as well.
again,
Thank you.
I'm going to make sure that the contact details are listed below in the YouTube channel. Please reach out to Michael. I've known him for such a long time. He is someone of integrity and authenticity, and he will take care of you. Again, he will look after your wellness. This is Sandra Corrado from Next Level Consulting. Thank you. Until next time.